knowing full well that there was also the Inwa Magaji report, which clearly itemized the damage and even the monies borrowed from CBN without being paid, and proved that there was no money that was brought into Nigeria. So we begin to imagine $525 million. So going by this, it will not be wrong to say that the agreement which was entered in the office of the Vice President, Osibanjo, on the 1st of August 2016 is null and void, because in law, you cannot give what you don't have, and you cannot take what is not yours. So by this, Nigeria does not owe global infrastructure $525 million, and so they have no right to spend a day in Niamco. Furthermore, I would like to state that right here in my hands, I have before me, this is the reconcession agreement that Adoke tried to have effected before the termination of Goodluck Jonathan's administration. And here in my left hand, I have the reconcession agreement Fayemi entered in August 1st. It will interest you to know that the two agreements are the same. When I read both, the errors, even the typographical errors contained in Adoke's concession agreement are also contained. There are over 25 of them. So you begin to wonder, did he review this agreement? Or it is the same agreement that later Adua terminated, which he said was grossly shrewd against the interest of Nigeria. So it's left for this court, this House, to decide. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to say that it's such a great honor to know that for once I have seen someone in authority whose ideals resonate with mine and the good people of Nigeria. We are against the privatization or concession or whatever it is called. Ajaokuta is too important to be in the hands of an individual left alone a foreign country. A company that has the capacity of manufacturing weapons should not be held in the hands of anybody. I mean, considering the fact that we tend to focus more in our diversity here, what betide it be in the hands of an Ibira or an Igbo man or a Hausa? It should be a property of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, sir. So, and I will tell you that the idea of privatization tends to create a lot of green-eyed monsters. The idea that somebody can own such a magnificent structure creates such uncontrollable greed. And I will speak about this. Sometime last year, it got to my findings that a particular company was registered to acquire Ajaokuta. It's called Ajaokuta Kogi Nigeria Limited. I have before me the papers that prove that this company was authorized, the registration of this company was authorized by the governor of Kogi State, Alhaji Yahaya Bello, in partnership with Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited, the same people. Now they have gotten Itakpe into their hands, and the next target was to acquire Ajaokuta at all costs. So they've devised the means. And going by the certified true copy of the Form CAC7, Form CA7, a company that is supposed to carry the front and the interests of the people of Kogi State if, well, we know it's a federal asset, but supposing the Federal Republic of Nigeria has given Kogi State the mandate to proceed with ownership, resuscitation, and operations of Ajaokuta, you will all assume that Kogi State should be a major shareholder, isn't it? But what I have here, the two directors of this company, one, Onoche Ikechukwu, he's from Benue State, and Anchaba Emmanuel from the eastern part of Nigeria. And both of them, it would interest you. are affiliates or staff of Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited. Both of them share, no other director is here. This is a shell company, sir. If it had succeeded, do you mind looking at this? If it had gone through, we would have, on the face of it, assumed that Ajaokuta was then already in possession of Kogi State, probably working for the good people of Kogi State and Nigeria. Well, in reality, it's just a company that is owned by two people who are promoting vested interests. So we wrote a petition. On the 3rd of July, we wrote a petition to the Registrar General of CAC. And he was very shocked. I wouldn't bore you with the happenings there, but he was very shocked. And he ordered a committee. To the best of his knowledge, the files before him did not contain that the company was registered. Meanwhile, it was registered already months before then. So I will receive this first letter stating that the file had been quarantined and a committee was set up, and they were going to investigate. May I read the first line? From our investigation, it was discovered that the above-named company, which was meant to be registered as a special purpose vehicle by the Kogi State government for the concession of Ajaokuta Steel Company, does not capture the legal representation of Kogi State. This has therefore defeated the essence of giving consent to the registration of Ajaokuta Kogi Nigeria Limited as a special purpose vehicle of the Kogi State government. But I was surprised again a few months after when I received another letter from this same Corporate Affairs Commission. By then, the gentleman, the Registrar General, had retired, and there was an acting, who is still acting now, a lady, I'm told. And he told me, the letter reads that they have allowed the company to proceed. CAC does not have the right to regularize an illegality. By going by their act, if there's a fraud committed upon registration or the content or the context in which a company is registered, it should go for the registration. Then if the company wants to proceed, they have to apply again. When I spoke with a few people at CAC, I was told there were orders from above. I said, who? They said the Kogi State governor sent the commissioner, Idris Asiwaju, and there were pressures from the presidency. I would like to state that I believe President Buhari would not sanction this, but there are many people who lie in the president's name. Finally, I'm going to the conclusions. Permit me, please, insert you. Yeah. Finally, dear Honorable House, if the Minister of Finance were to be here, we would have posed a very important question to her, along the lines and reasoning of the Speaker. How can we say that Nigeria does not have the financing capabilities to revive Ajaokuta? No, it's not true. We do have the funds. But I will tell you the easiest of all. Many of us have heard about the Abacha loot, but few of us have actually bothered to find out what amounts to the Abacha loot. I would read a report from a United Nations report. A United Nations report put forward in 1998, and it states, in another stunning disclosure, a government spokesman said in December that the administration was investigating an alleged $2 billion fraud by some members of the previous regime. They were careful in mentioning the previous regime. This involved the withdrawal in 1996 of $2.5 billion of public funds, $2.5 billion of public funds to settle debts owed to Russia for the construction of the Ajaokuta Steel plant, but which in reality had been discounted to only $500 million. I'm going to explain that. In a secretly negotiated debt buyback deal. Local and foreign media reports have speculated that General Abacha may have more than $3 billion stashed away in overseas bank. This was in 1996. May I talk about the debt buyback, sir? By the time the Russians left in 1994, Nigeria was owing them close to $1 billion, because long before, the change in administration actually affected the funding. It would also interest this House to know that 3 years before TPE, which is the original builders, left the country, every month for 3 years, they were writing memos to the Ministry of Mines and Steel, or however it was called then. Not one letter was responded. 3 years, from 1991 to 1994, there was a status report telling them that, look, we are nearly completing the plant, but we cannot complete the 2% because we need the infrastructure set up. Because once the 2%, which is largely the blast furnace, once it's ignited, the blast furnace is to run for 18, 25 years non-stop. That means many people say, why, if the Russians really wanted Ajaokuta to work, why did they leave at 2%, at 98%? It's because if they had started, would have had a wholesome damage. And for these 3 years, which was more than enough to have the infrastructure running, the roads, dredging. At that time, they even proposed the dredging of River Niger. But not one letter was responded to, and they had to leave. It was a sad experience, they had to leave. It was more sad because, like I said, people like me, many Russians that came to Nigeria and got married to Nigerians, they were separated. My mother till today does not even have a Nigerian passport, even though my father wasn't working, but the rules were not so fair to many people. So when they left, I will read now. In October, when the Russians left, and we had such huge debt to pay, they did not take Nigeria to court. They kept on sending letters of reminder. How are you going to pay this? But most importantly, they reminded Nigeria, if you are interested in continuing the completion of your plant, let us know. We will come back. All we have to is renegotiate. But what happened was, in October 1995, I'm going to read from this part because there are some key words I don't want to miss. A series of debt buyback transactions took place, whereby the debt instruments were sold at inflated prices to Liberian companies, purportedly owned by the Abachas. The two companies are called Parna Shipping Corporation and Mecosta Securities. These are two companies that were registered in Liberia, and these are the two companies that bought the debts. Now, on one part, Parna Shipping Corporation and Mecosta Securities, on one part, they were negotiating the reduction of that near $1 billion debt. And Russia waved away over $400 million and said, you know what? We're a struggling country, a small country. Just pay $500 million. Forget about the rest. While on the other hand, the Abacha administration told Nigeria that the Russians insisted on the money, on the nearly $1 billion, and apart from that, there were debts incurred upon the debt buyback. So that amounted to $2.5 billion. So that means $2.5 billion were taken from our reserve, while only $500 billion was being paid. So that is the debt buyback. So it's not wrong to say any Abacha loop that is left in the banks of Switzerland and other banks can actually be pulled together to revive Ajaokuta. On the other hand, if such monies are not enough, I can say with my interactions with ordinary Nigerians, I need to crowdfund that project. Mr. Speaker, just 2 years ago, in 1994, that's 4 years ago, forgive me. 2014. The Egyptian government embarked upon a huge project to dualize the Suez Canal. And that Suez Canal, the President Sisi sold the idea so patriotically to the people that $8 billion was raised in 10 days. Mr. Speaker, these are facts. $8 billion was raised in 10 days from a country that has a population of just 91 million. They don't have individuals as rich as Nigeria. But what matters is leadership and the ability to connect to the people so that an average person on the street, the person roasting corn, the organizer, everybody will believe in this national dream and vision and know that they are one penny, just like the movement that brought in our beloved President Buhari. That movement, we can make it happen to Nigeria. But we must be patriotic enough and be able to present to the people accountability, transparency, inclusiveness, and an untampered growth. Nigerians can raise the money, sir. I can put my everything to it. So I'm going to read the conclusions we have put. That one, this Honorable House considers that the Niomco's reconcession of August 1st to Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited or Global Steel Holdings and however they are called be terminated with immediate effect.
Order, please.
That EFCC must be called to conclude the prosecution of Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited for the economic crimes according to the orders of this investigation and the orders of late Yaradua. May I read the publication here of 3rd of April 2008. President Umaru Musa Yaradua also ordered the arrest and prosecution of all government officials and promoters of Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited indicted of asset stripping in the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. May I tell you, sir, that last year, in February of last year, we wrote to EFCC to reopen the file. We wrote several times. We're actually in court with them, seeking an order of mandamus which will compel EFCC to either reopen the case over the file to us, and we will pool a team of patriotic lawyers and get this justice for the people of Nigeria. So, sir, there's a pending case there because we believe that a crime against Ajaokuta is a crime against Nigeria. And there is no court, supposing this $525 million was actually an order of the greatest court on earth. Nigeria is a sovereign nation, and we decide to allow criminals or not to allow criminals into our land, whether they are nationals, Nigerians, or foreign. So, sir, it's actually Nigeria's duty to ensure that people who have committed crimes on this land are not holding our most precious assets. Also, we would say that Ajaokuta and Itape must not be privatized or concession, but be owned 100% by the federal government of Nigeria and operated alongside the original builders only in areas of technical expertise. And once there is an absolute transfer of technology, the Russians can go. We believe we have seen Nigerians around the world conducting amazing things in engineering, so there's no reason why they shouldn't. We would also like to appeal that this Honorable House asks to get the executive to assemble a team of economic experts to travel to Russia, which I'm speaking with regards to the bilateral agreement, which is still standing open. Because we believe that once a country or two countries come together and agree on a particular reasoning, then that is binding on the nations. It's upon meeting with President Putin that Nigeria can then begin to decide the way forward. And I also agree with the previous speakers that there has to be a redesign of the steel sector. Why a redesign? Because when I visited Russia 2 years ago and I spoke with the original builders, they told me that the plan upon which the Nigeria steel industry is built, it was designed in 1971 by the geological survey conducted by these same original builders. And they said by now, the advancement of technologies and innovation in the sector has caused the realization and usage of new materials which were ordinarily not known to them then. They also told me that we might be oblivious of the fact that Rolls-Royce today, the great Rolls-Royce, uses important alloys sourced from Kogi State, probably supplied by illegal miners. But that is why I say it is very important that we call them back to conduct another survey, because probably in the modernization and upgrade of the plant, there could be new sectors that are injected so that new minerals can be incorporated. Thank you. And by and large, that is what we have. I've come to an end of this presentation. And I would say again that I know many would talk about why am I promoting Russia? Why am I not promoting China and India? With due respect to every country's steel capabilities, the greatest steel plant in China today and 5 of the biggest steel plants in India, citing Belial, which for the 12th consecutive year has won the best steel plant in Asia, was built by this same company. So why? There's a very big question. What has Russia done, and why are we shying away from approaching the people who actually envisage this dream for completion? Nigeria must be ready for sanctions. That's one thing I'm going to say. It's not easy to go against the Western Bloc. We must be ready for sanctions because at the end of the day, we must dream of a big, great Nigeria. Because for all it's worth, trade is always better than aid. Trade is always better than aid. Nigeria should position itself to be a country that will give other African countries aid. We should be the country that Ghana, Kenya, Somalia, Uganda, they run to for loans. Not all of us scrambling for loans from the Chinese. Thank you very much, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable House. And thank you, the good people of Nigeria and the good people of Nigeria land and Kogi State. Thank you. And Russia too.
Natasha.